Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to the SteelerNation.com podcast. I'm your host, G.Stryker, and today we are happy to have the Steelers' former strong safety and special teams captain, Robert Golden. Rob, how you doing today?
Man, I am awesome, man. Thanks for having me on here. I always love engaging with Steeler Nation, man. The first class, fan base. Whenever I get the opportunity, to say what's up to Steeler Nation, I'm always down for it.
Nice, and I love that you're wearing your Sunday best today. Love that jersey, man.
Absolutely. I'm actually in a 21 this time. I was 21 and number 20, for my last year. So 21 was my favorite for sure.
That's awesome. And Coy, and I wanted to talk to you about this a little later on, but since you mentioned it, like you've worn a few different numbers. I know you started off with 20, you wore 21 with the Steelers, and then 22 also with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
So what were your reasonings behind those numbers, or is there any like specific things that mean?
Well, I tell you what, my rookie year, when I was trying to make the team as an undrafted free agent, I was actually number 30. And, I didn't want to ask for a number because I was an undrafted free agent. So I just took whatever they gave me. And, once I made the team, I was like, okay, I'd like to be number 21. 21 is the number that I've always worn in high school. And the funny thing is, my high school is kind of resembled after the Steelers. So we were black and gold. And I always tell this story, man. My mom, when I was in high school, she got a 21 Steelers jersey and put golden on the back of it because it matched our uniforms, in high school. And I ended up, becoming a Steeler, and I got the jersey number 21, and the rest was history.
Oh, that's great.
After that, we signed Joe Hayden, and Joe Hayden wasn't able to get 23 because Mike Mitchell didn't want to give it up. So I told him, I'd give up 21 for the right price. And he was willing to pay that price, man. So I took 20, and that's how that happened.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool.
Yes.
And then, so right now, where are you currently living in Steeler Nation?
I'm actually here in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been living here for the past 6 years, but just had my second child with my wife and I. So we're ready to get closer back to home, which is California. So we're planning on making that move within the next month or so.
Oh, that's a blessing, and congratulations, because
thank you, man.
The one positive that I'm finding from the whole pandemic is I get to stay at home with my family a lot more, and especially when you have a new baby.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's quite
absolutely, man. And me and my wife always talk about like how when I was playing with my first son, we was always on the road, or I was always at practice. So now that I'm actually here with my second boy, I actually get to hear all the crying and experience all the whining now. And she was like, well, you was at work with Chuchu, but he did the same thing. So it's good that I get to experience the whole, young childhood of my little ones now.
Oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. So you start off, obviously, you're going to University of Arizona.
Right.
And you're playing for the Wildcats, and you start off as a cornerback for the first couple years.
Mm-hmm.
So then you switch over and start playing safety.
Right.
So why did you switch, and how different is it to play those two positions?
Well, I was a corner coming in. I was a highly rated corner coming out of high school, and then once I got to U of A, man, I've always been a guy that just understood defense, and I was always a guy that's, easy to learn the playbook. And it was funny because one of our safeties, which was a very talented safety that had came in, he ended up tearing his ACL during spring ball. And we were a young team my junior year. So the coaches knew that I knew the playbook. And I think safety is one of the, most vocal persons, on the field besides the linebacker. And I was always a guy that was able to communicate the defense, and they knew that. So they felt that I would be able to keep the team together had I moved to safety. And Coach Mike Stoops moved me there, and I think it all worked out for the good for me.
That's cool. So then in 2012, you're an undrafted rookie free agent.
Right.
And I know, like, right after the draft ends, it's like a mad scramble to try to pick up as many undrafted rookie free agents as you can.
Right.
Did you get calls from multiple teams, and what was that process like?
Yeah, it was funny, man, because I actually got calls all up through the pre-draft, of teams making sure it was my right number, the whole things that they do, the due diligence that they do before the draft. And come to draft, I didn't get drafted, but the funny thing is I never talked to the Pittsburgh Steelers, not one time during that pre-draft moment.
Yeah.
But I remember them at my pro day, and I know the guy that recruited me or that scouted me was a guy named Fisher. I'm not sure if he's still in the scouting department over with the Steelers or not, but he was scouting me and he liked me. And as soon as the draft was over, he was one of the first persons that called me. And he was like, man, we really want you to come here with the Steelers. We sorry we couldn't draft you, but there's an opportunity that you can make this team. And I was like, man, I'm on board. My dad was a huge Steelers fan. So I was like, I'm on board. And after I hung up with them, the Saints called me and the Miami Dolphins called me. But I told them I was already a Steeler. So that's how that all worked out.
Nice, especially since they had the colors too from your old
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's great. So the Steelers noticed your skills and they signed you quickly. Do you remember who you first spoke with then once they initially signed you?
Like I said, the guy that scouted me was Fisher, and he called me. He was the one that called me after the draft, and then once I talked to him and said that I was going to sign, I spoke with Mike Tomlin, and he told me that they was happy to have me, and had a spot for me to come in and compete. And they had drafted a corner and a safety, I think, that year, and he said that I was going to have to compete, and that was something that I've always been able to do. That's been in my nature, and I went in and competed and was able to make the 53-man roster as a rookie, and I never looked back after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so then you made training camp. Obviously, like, I just want to get your impressions because I know Latrobe's like a really neat atmosphere and kind of a unique atmosphere and kind of a college atmosphere too,
Right.
for pros, especially coming right out of college. So talk to us about your experience in Latrobe your first year and which Steelers kind of reached out to you to make you feel comfortable.
Man, it was such a good group of guys my rookie year. That was a well-seasoned team when I came in. I mean, we had Ryan Clark, Troy Polamalu, Ike Taylor. I mean, those three guys in itself, they brought me under their wings and, kind of showed me the ropes on, how to take care of my body during training camp, how to, go about my days. And I'm forever thankful for those guys. I still keep in touch with Troy and Ryan and Ike, till this day. And I always thank them for, the things that they taught me, as a young, Steeler player trying to make the team. And, most guys, most teams, when you get on their team, if you're an undrafted guy, they kind of treat you like you're a camp body, but that never was the case with Steelers, with the whole Steelers team. A lot of guys showed me love, and Lamar Woodley was another guy that, took me under his wings and showed me the ropes that he went about. So it was a well-seasoned team, a veteran team that looked out for the younger guys. And like I say, to this day, I'm very thankful for those guys that came before me.
Oh, and we all know too, it's very rare for an undrafted rookie free agent to even make a team, but
Right.
At least with the Steelers, our experiences as fans, we know if you're going to make the team, you're going to make it on special teams.
Absolutely.
Starting off, and you were a special teams monster.
Yes,
So you were always a huge part of the Steelers coverage and kicking teams. And can you speak to us the importance of special teams, then to kind of explain to Steeler Nation, who doesn't always understand how
Right.
important it is in the game?
Right. Well, to piggyback off of what you just said, one thing Mike Tomlin always say, he always says, we don't care about what means you got here. If you're willing and able to contribute to our winning efforts, you got a spot on this team. So that's one thing that Coach Tomlin always preached to the younger guys. But I think when it comes to special teams, it's all about a want to. You got to want to run down there full speed and make a tackle. You got to want to get your block. It's all about a want to. A lot of people are able to do a lot of stuff, but are you willing to do it? And special teams was just something that I was willing to do. Playing in the NFL, was my dream. Ever since I was a young kid, I always said that I was going to play in the NFL. So when it came to me making a team, to play in the NFL and fulfill my dreams as a young kid, I was willing to do whatever I had to do to make that team. So special teams was my route to get on the team. And I took it upon myself to make sure that I was giving 110% effort on everything that I did to make sure that, I was giving our team the best, field position possible.
And what were your favorite special team squads to play on?
Punt was for sure my favorite, just because I was kind of like the quarterback of the punt unit. I always, called out the plays, and I was the guy that got the ball snapped and things of that nature. So punt was definitely my favorite, and I'll say kickoff was my second favorite. Whenever I got the opportunity, to see the ball and go get it, that was my thing that I loved doing, as a defensive player. So punt and kickoff was definitely my favorites.
So I definitely know you had a talent for, you're saying, being the quarterback of the punt team, and then you're also back there throwing the football on the punt team. I want to show this quick highlight here of you getting a direct snap at the line of scrimmage against during the punt, fake punt against Cincinnati. And it's a really, so on this play, was it a hot read to go? That is this kind of like an open play for you that, this can happen anytime, and it was a hot read, you saw something, or somebody wasn't covering Darius Hayward-Bay there? So walk us through that play and what happened.
Well, I don't know if Steeler Nation remember, but back in 2013, I threw that same pass to Antoine Blake, and on
the other side of the field.
Exactly. And the Browns, they gave us this look, and Danny Smith, who's a great special teams coach. I love Danny Smith. He's like a distant father for me. I still keep in contact with him till this day. But when he came to the Steelers, he implemented, he asked me, "Can you throw?" I'm like, "Yes." He said, "We're going to do a lot of stuff with you, Dad, if you can throw." And I was like, "All right, coach." So the first special teams practice we had with Danny Smith, he put that play in, and he was like, "If you ever get this look, it's on." And so we practiced that look. I mean, every day, every punt practice that we had under Danny Smith. And when we got the look in 2013, we completed it. And the funny thing about it, nobody ever gave us that look again until that year. And when they gave it to us, I was like, "Are they really doing this right now?" And once I saw it, I told them, I gave them the signal and told them that it was on, and we executed it, and it helped us seal that victory, man. So I was just happy that we was able to complete it, and our practice was able to execute what we were working on.
So what was specifically the look that you recognized to call that audible?
Well, when the corner started cheating in, I noticed that Darius Hayward-Bay was, scot-free, wide open. So whenever I get a creeper coming in, then, I'll give the alert. And once I give the alert, it's on. There's no turning it off, if there's no backing out. But, had the guy crept back out there, we probably would have just took a delay of game. But since he didn't creep back out there, I hurried up and got the ball snapped and was able to make a good throw.
And they were nice balls. Like I said, you finished your career with a perfect 2 for 2 on your passes. So
right, it would have been awesome if Hayward-Bay would have got in the end zone and I could have got a touchdown on my record. But I'm thankful we was able to complete that.
Oh, definitely. So then in 2015 and 2016, you're named the special teams captain, which is so it's a huge honor. And tell Steeler Nation what it's like to receive an honor like that from your teammates.
Right. Well, I was actually named in 2014. I was co-captain with Sean Sweetsom as well. I actually did 3 years in a row as the special teams team captain, which was an honor, to have, your 53-man vote me as a captain. I was definitely honored by it. I felt like I wasn't really one of the rah guys on the field. I was a guy that, tried to lead by example. And one thing about me, like I said, I've always gave 110% to make my dreams come true and playing in the NFL. That's what I had to do. So I was always just a hardworking guy, that just tried to lead by example. And for my teammates to acknowledge me on that, like I say, I was honored by it. And I just tried to carry the torch and help our special teams unit be the best that they could be.
Nice. And you were there for the changing of the guards, essentially, for the Steelers defense. So you were playing with, started off playing with Ryan Clark and Ike Taylor and Troy Polamalu. And what was it like playing with them, and what was their kind of leadership style to help you with your game?
Man, it was awesome playing with those guys as a young rookie, man. One thing's for sure is that when I was in high school, man, I used to always watch Troy Polamalu highlight tapes before my football games, in high school. So to actually be able to sit in the same room with Troy Polamalu, the first time I met him, I was starstruck. I think that's the first time I've ever been starstruck in my life.
Wow.
And but he was such a humble guy, and for him to show me, how he watched film and how he went about his daily business, and even Ryan, how Ryan took care of his body, and Ryan even invited me out to train with him in the off season. And I ended up training at the same place that Ryan trained at, my whole career, just based off of him, being willing to fly me out to the place where he trained and take care of my training for me. It was just, those guys just will welcome me in with open arms. And like I say, I'm forever thankful for the leadership that they showed for me and for that team, because it helped me become the player that I am, that I was, and it actually helped me make the team as well too.
Nice. And after the players retire, you earn more playing time and get starts on defense. So
Right.
what was it like coming through that tunnel on Heinz Field, getting your name called for the opening defense running down the
Right,
field?
right, man. I tell you what, man, it brought chills to the body, man. To be on that level and be able to play at that level and get your name called in front of Steeler Nation,
Yep.
and I mean everybody chanting for you. I mean, it was definitely a thrill, to have and experience, man. So I was thankful for it. I was thankful for Steeler Nation and the whole Steelers organization. I mean, it's a first class place, and everything that they do is first class. So to be able to, play most of my career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, it was such a blessing for me and my family, for sure.
Oh, that's great. And
Yeah,
then your time comes to an end in Pittsburgh, and you're signed with the Kansas City Chiefs.
right.
And so, what was it like playing and competing in Kansas City during that preseason?
It was cool, man, but it was definitely different. At the end of the day, I say that Steeler Nation and the Steelers organization is one of the best organizations in the whole NFL. And a lot of players, believe it or not, says that once you play for the Steelers, it's hard to play anywhere else because of the locker room environment and the team environment. And
Yeah.
I experienced that firsthand. But the Chiefs were definitely a great organization. I love Coach Andy Reid, but however, it just wasn't, it didn't feel like Steeler Nation over there. So I decided to retire and spend my time with my family.
Yeah, because that was really unique. It was one of the first times that we got to hear you actually got to break your own retirement, and you broke it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And, and so can you talk about your reasons then for wanting to leave the game at that time?
I'll say that, when I took my trip to Kansas City, man, I was kind of sold a dream, so to say. But then, like I say, I was so used to being, with the Steelers organization, which I spent, 6 years with, and created so many bonds and stuff with families and friends over there, that it was a home feeling for me. And then when I went to Kansas City, it didn't quite feel like home. And I wasn't really happy there. So I decided to do what makes me happy. And what made me happy at that time was being around my wife and my child. Then I ended up having a second boy, and life has been good. I actually do a lot of stuff throughout my community back in my hometown, Fresno, California. So that's kind of been, my radar and things that I've been doing, ever since I left the game. But like I say, I feel like in life, in order to live life at its fullest, you got to do what makes you happy. And at that time, what made me happy was being around my family. And I definitely felt like I made the right decision at that.
Nice. And
Yeah.
when you were in Kansas City, I know you had another incredible safety in Eric Berry over there as well. Did
Right.
you get to a feel of his game and how he approached the game?
Yes, Eric was a very hardworking guy. He spent a lot of time. He was, still recovering from the Achilles injury when I was there. So I never really got to see him
Oh, yeah.
practice, like on a day-to-day basis, like how he was practicing. But from the way that he went about his training, to the way that he went about his eating habits, and how he, just studied the game, it was admirable to, to just to sit around in that same room with him and see it. how he approached the game, I can definitely see why he's one of the greatest safeties to play in the NFL, because how he went about his business on a daily basis, for sure.
And there's one thing on your Instagram account that I think is just really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to see if I can get this up. Let me drop this for a second. Because it's pretty recent and it just came out for Father's Day.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
really cool painting.
Yes, it is.
Tell Steeler Nation, how did you get this and what it all means? Because I want to hear it from your point of view.
Right. Man, shout out to Dorsey Art, man. He's a phenomenal artist. But one thing about me, man, I wanted to have a painting that kind of wrapped up my whole career in one, from my high school days to the day that I retired.
Oh.
And like I said, my high school kind of resembles Steelers. So the black and gold represents, my Edison High School, and it also represents Steeler Nation, as you can see. And then obviously the other side is my U of A days, where I wear number 1, and U of A kind of gave me the platform to be able to play with the Steelers. And I told them I wanted just a little hint of Kansas City red in there, because I was only there for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And so that's where you get a little bit of red, and a little bit of red on the helmet. But I mean, I had a vision to have all the teams, put into one, and Dorsey did a great job at doing it. And I can't wait to hang that up inside of my house. Like I say, me and my family, we're getting ready to relocate back to California.
Yeah.
And as soon as we do, that's the first thing that's getting hung up in my home.
Awesome. Do you have a spot for it? Where are you going to put it?
Absolutely. Soon you walk through the door, I want people to see it.
Nice. Oh, it's
Right.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's great work. And I would love to use this picture too to promote the podcast, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yes, please do.
Awesome. So I will do that. And so now we're at the point of the podcast where we take questions from Steeler Nation.
Awesome.
So we got on Twitter, we got some responses, and from Ryan Chepkevich, he asks, what was your favorite play that you made as a Steeler?
Has to be I would say it was the fake punt when I threw it to Darius Hayward-Bay, but another one of my favorite plays was the interception that I had against the Cincinnati Bengals to secure the victory in Cincinnati. I think Mike Mitchell had went down for a play or so, and I happened to just run on the field because he was hurt, and I was his backup, and they ended up, coming out in a formation that I was studying all week. And I said, if they come out in this formation, I'm going to intercept this ball. And
Nice.
They came out in that formation on the one play that I got in, and I was able to intercept it. And I just felt like it was meant for me to get in on that play. So that was definitely one of my favorite plays.
Now, did you also score a touchdown on a fumble recovery in the end zone?
I did. I think the fumble was forced by Shamarko Thomas, another former safety for the Steelers on punt. Yes. And the ball just happened to rumble into the end zone. And me being, the guy that's going 110%, I was able to get down there in time to recover it in the end zone.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, right?
So Noah Bonner, another Steeler Nation member, asks, you were there when the defense transitioned, obviously, from the old guard to the core group today. How did the leadership get passed down from one generation to the next?
Man, the whole Steelers team, man, it's a bunch of leaders on that team. So, when Troy and Ike and all those guys left, the Steeler organization brought in Mike Mitchell, who was a veteran safety. And then you had other guys like myself and people that were still around, like James Harrison and all those guys who were able to lead and mentor young men that when their times was up, people were ready to fill those shoes. So I'll say it definitely got passed on, the right way. And it's always good to have a lot of continuity. When you have a quarterback that's been there for a long time, he kind of sets the stage for what a locker room environment is supposed to be like. So, when you have guys like Ben Roethlisberger and coach like Mike Tomlin, that's the head of a great organization. You can't help but to have a whole bunch of leaders on that team to help the team, continue to be successful.
That's great. Yeah. And our last questions comes from Anarita Howell. And she says, I'm very proud of the charitable work you have committed to in Fresno and Fresno Unified. when are you coming back to visit and check in with us in the McLean region?
Yeah, Mrs. Al. I know exactly who she is. I actually did a prep rally for her school. She's actually a principal at a school out in Fresno. So she had me come speak one off season, and I'm definitely going to come back and visit them for sure. But Fresno is, my hometown. Like I say, I do a lot of charity work out there still to this day. And I'm also planning a lot of other things to come for the Fresno community. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting back to visit the whole Fresno community. And when I do, I'm gonna definitely come visit Mrs. Howell in her school for sure.
And that's great. And speaking of charities, you're working on a new project right now.
Yes, I am.
Can you talk to Steeler Nation what that is
Yeah.
and run us through it?
Yeah, so in August of 2021, I am opening up my own charter school, which is the Golden Charter Academy. I'm actually going to be affiliated with the Fresno Chaffee Zoo. So we're bringing a zoology type school for a K through 8th school. We're opening up, K through 3rd, and we're going to phase out every year. The great thing about this Golden Charter Academy school is that out of 5 zoology schools that's out there right now, we're going to be the first K through 8th zoology school in the whole United States. So I'm really looking forward to that. I believe that it's going to empower my underserved community out in Fresno, California. And we're going to be able to uplift a lot of kids and help their dreams become reality like mine did.
That's great. And obviously, if you want to get some more information, I got it right up here on the screen for everybody on the YouTube vidcast. robertgolden.org.
Absolutely. Yes. robertgolden.org. My website now is actually being, updated. So if they check back a little bit later, they have a lot of information about me and what I'm doing in my Fresno community. And if they're willing to contribute, I'm sure to be a link on there as well too. So please, look out for the robertgolden.org website to get all the information about the Golden Charter Academy and other things that I'm doing throughout, my community.
Nice. And Steeler Nation, you got to follow Robert Golden on social media. He's an awesome guy. He's got
Absolutely
great content, and that's why I just love getting to know him a little bit better now that we're especially talking face to face. Which
right. I tell you what, man. We're living in some challenging times right now, but Zoom has been one of the greatest things invented, especially for these times, to be able to connect with people like you and have meetings, and continue to social distance so that we can all stay safe. I think that's the biggest thing about it all right now, is to continue to stay safe, to continue to promote our environments and continue to make this world a better place. So I'm thankful that you was able to have me on here, man, and look forward to always catching up with Steeler Nation.
Oh, well said. Well said. Steeler Nation, you got to follow Robert on Twitter at R0BG0LDEN. That's Rob Golden with zeros for O's. And on Instagram at GoldenBoy21, where the O in boy is a 0. That's GOLDENB0Y21.
Exactly.
And thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. I'd like to give you a little token of our appreciation and send you a podcast T-shirt.
Also,
we'll talk back and forth on email and get all those details. But thank you for sharing your time with me and for sharing your time with Steeler Nation.
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure to connect with Steeler Nation, and I'm always available, man. Anytime, just shoot me an email and I'll hop back on with you.
Great to hear.
Thanks, Stryker.
Thank you, Rob. You too can get great unique gifts on SteelerNation.com gear page. We have every size and many color choices to satisfy all of Steeler Nation. SteelerNation.com is the best site for fast, unique Steeler content on the internet. Click the podcast button to listen to one of our many interviews, or click on the forum button for the best football discussion on the internet. Subscribe to the SteelerNation.com YouTube channel to be the first to know about our live vidcasts like this one, and video uploads, of course. Tweet us at Steeler Nation. Instagram us at SteelerNation.com. Follow the Steeler Nation podcast on Twitter at _SN podcast. And follow your host, G.Stryker, Steeler Nation Striker on Twitter and Instagram at SN Striker, and Striker is spelled with a Y. Thanks for joining us for the SteelerNation.com podcast. I am your host, G.Stryker, with Robert Golden, rooting along with you as always. Go Steelers!